should we like should we like give context on our relationship status before we get into this conversation? Just so
Why
As
not?
individuals or with each other?
individuals.
Yeah, go ahead. Yours is the
So
most convoluted.
mine is the simplest. So like, um, I'm 29, no kids, and like single but involved with multiple, but not like on a day to day or active or anything like that. Like the term is polyamorous, but it's not like people I see every day or anything. I'm like single with a few good friends. That's about the best way I could explain it. I'll leave it at that. I'll let people take
Is
their own context.
is that the Tom Cruise movie?
Yeah.
You can't handle the truth. Single with a few good friends.
Yeah. If I think about it legitly and like what I'm after and like how I see it and what I want it to be, like that's the reality. Like it's not about being smooth or sounding good. It's like if that's legit the goal. Not necessarily to be single, but to just have the ability to love and be involved with more than one person and it not be like a big deal. Like it's
Shady.
not right.
Yeah.
It's not that it's hiding anything, it's that it's literally that simple. You know what I mean? Like there's no real boundaries, but it's all with good intentions or with good faith or like, coming from a good place, going to a good place. And it's like how do the details work out? Like it's definitely more complicated or it's definitely like more out of the norm, but that's not the point. You know what I mean? The point is on my side, like what comes naturally, what feels comfortable, what is less stressful, what allows people the most flexibility, the most freedom to be who or how they naturally are.
So it's
So
two women.
say again.
It's two or three different. Two women, three women.
Mm, it's not like a set thing, but it's also never like, 10 people. And it's also never like two people at the same time.
So
You
what
know
I'm
what I
asking
mean?
is, do however the number is, are they aware? These aren't like you're single. You're just dating.
Absolutely.
Right.
Buddy's dating
Right.
with good intentions and eyes wide open, and he wants
Well,
all. He
and
wants that.
consist and consistent. Like I'm not disengaged. Like there's periods of dating and then there's periods of like communication. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm in there and out of there kind of thing. Like the people I'm talking about, it's a course of, years. You know what I mean? Like that there's been a friendship there or some kind of connection. Not always even on a like romantic tick. Sometimes it's like I might not have seen you in 6 months. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah.
Single.
Mm, so I'm gonna get into why I didn't like that, but I think my introduction's gone long enough.
Okay.
So two follow ups to what my nephew said is
Well, introduce yourself first
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Round
before we
robin.
get into the grits.
What's your thing? What's your status?
Yeah.
single, always down to mingle. I'm 46, never married, no kids. I also have very few successful monogamous relationships in my life. Uh, what my nephew was talking about, being honest and forthright and careful with people's feelings, I was the exact opposite when I was his age. I just told women what they wanted to hear, what I thought they needed to hear so that they would be with me. And it was selfish and shallow. And, we all have regrets from a misspent youth. But now that I look back on it, if I had the courage and if I was more honest in those moments, would any of those women choose to be with me knowing that I was broken and emotionally unavailable? Would they still have stayed? Or would that level of honesty that my nephew is bringing now in 2020, would that have scared him off? So while I know that I've left carnage in my past, it does little to help me focus on what I'm trying to get in today's world, today's dating pool. I find myself being overly honest, overly present, and emotionally available. All these things that I was never before in my 20s.
So you're overcompensating for the past?
No, it's who I am now. I've evolved to this point.
Right.
And it's not being reciprocated. And it's not, I don't feel it's being appreciated. I hope the world hasn't moved on and I had my chance to be something and now I'm being it late and now what I am is no longer valued. So I don't want to become disenchanted and I'm willing to try new things and go on dating apps and be set up and whatnot. But this used to be easy for me. I never had a problem meeting someone. I never had a problem having a good time or getting a phone number or sealing the deal. So now that I can't do any of that, part of it is COVID. Part of it is me not having a license. Part of it is me being in a new state. So, I mean, this will definitely be a to be continued on future podcasts. But I'm at a point in my life. I'm at a point in my life where I'm open and available for something real. And I think I just have to be patient for it. I have to realize that good women have came in my life and I took them for granted. So now I'm just waiting for the next one.
My turn. I'm up.
Yep.
Jumping jack flash. Michael the tipping point. Tipped in point. I don't want to get sued. I do want to get sued on it. 48.
That now. We'll cut you like a bad habit.
And I'm gonna bring the exposure to the podcast. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. It's all for PR. And if push comes to shove, then I'll just do an Irish goodbye and be like, I'm out.
I don't know where he went.
Yeah, I don't know what. He just fell off the face of the earth. I'm 48, never been married, no biological kids, but I have 2 teenage daughters that I've been actively raising for 16 years. And while you guys were talking, I kind of feel like lately, the last few years, when I date, it's the law of attraction, meaning I attract not only just the same type of women, not like physically or emotionally or intelligently, but the outcome is the same. And I've come to grips to that has a lot to do with me. It can't be that 6 different women over the last 10 years. And that's just a number. I'm not being accurate, whatever the number is. That no matter what I do, if it starts off on a spiritual level, education, business, romantic, just for fun, dating, intentional, we're at least talking about marriage, the outcome in a short amount of time is the same. And I was getting really pissed, and the reason why I sent the clip to you guys, and when I sent it, it occurred to me that none of us have biological kids. And with Corey being the youngest in his late 20s, early 30s, that's very uncommon for 3 Black men with our demographics being similar, that we don't have kids. And so the gift and curse is that women like that because I'm more flexible, I'm more available. But it's also the curse because what I got from the video that I sent you guys is that Nikki Giovanni says she demands that the man be a man. And he was like, you
Right.
can't demand, he said, you can't demand that. You can
Can
suggest
ask
it. You can ask it, you can suggest it, but you can't demand it. And while I've listened to it about at least 2 or 3 good solid times, and then Corey sent us another video, and I don't know if you saw it, see, so I was about halfway through it before we started zooming and podcasting, but it was well too. But I realized one thing, that I demand too much in relationships too quick. I'm making withdrawals from the relationship, and I haven't made enough deposits to make those certain demands. And I really feel like I get that because maybe coming from a single parent household, being my mom kind of raising me the majority of the time and not spending a lot of time with my dad, my biological dad, had a great stepdad, and no disrespect to my mom at all. I think I've taken on that role where I demand the woman to be exemplary. I want her to be like really excellent. I want her to hit a standard that may be almost impossible. And I'm not even willing to invest or put that same type of energy or effort into the relationship or show up that type of way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I asked you guys to put 2 things that came to mind, because that was the first thing, demanding. But also the other thing, and I can't really remember what the other thing was, but relationships are a give and take. And a lot of times we're both taken from the relationship. Now it's a tug of war, and now there's not team effort. And over the years, that's made me jaded. And so I love what I love about the relationship and the women that I've dated, and when it's hot, but when it's not, it's ice cold. And I've been kind of, I wouldn't say studying or researching. I'm probably like a peep freak when it comes to relationships, like Gerald Foos. Not in a weird freaky way, but I'm just saying that I do watch people's relationships. I tend to I'm really nosy in that regard. And I watch and study people, especially if they're close to me, especially if they're family, if they have good relationships, or if I had a good relationship with my friends or women, I watch and see what they do. And especially Black relationships or young relationships or relationships that don't have good foundations to set examples, we're quick to pull things off the table, right? If she doesn't do this, then I'm not going to do that. If I don't do this, then she's going to take, sex off the table. Or as soon as she doesn't, not talking to me.
It's a whole nother podcast, but that's everything. Like there's no, and that's if you say relationship as a whole, any interaction, that's usually the mindset. You know what I mean? Like I have a limit, a minimum of what, yeah.
What'd you say, Cease?
Transactional.
Yeah. And then it's petty. And then the real word that regardless, and I think what I wanted to get to, Corey, is exactly, it doesn't have to just be romantic relationships. Do I love unconditionally? Right? My love is conditional, and I don't really feel like that until I do some reflecting and be like, oh, even with my family members, as soon as they do some funny shit, then I'm subject to be out.
Yeah. So you said something, and you were talking about kind of like how you ended up where you at, or like why, you think about it the way you do. One of the things I landed on is like growing up, Uncle's talking about this, like there's very few relationships I've seen be successful. And like, even more than that, there's been like many divided families created like without intention. You know what I mean? Like motherfuckers just out there wilding, not using protection, and now you got multiple baby moms, multiple baby dads, however the case may be, right? So I grew up, but so this is the environment I grew up with, no real mother father households to learn from.
All of us.
Right, right. But it didn't really jade me or make me think they weren't worth it, because I still grew up in a large family. You know what I mean? Like we still knew those other branches of the family one way or another at some point in time. Like we connected with them, like we stayed, at least when I was growing up. So it was never really a bad thing. It was like no big deal. You know what I mean? Because there was still so much love there. There was still watching other sides of the family's kids. You know what I mean? Or knowing other sides of the family's cousins or something like that. So I just don't resonate with the importance of the purposeful exclusion, right? So you can't let everybody in, and it's not about like just orgying out or like having a bunch of sex. It's about like the potential of what life has to offer, and purposely saying like there's, I guess it's the box syndrome. You know what I mean? You don't want to be put in a box. Like, because what comes with a relationship is the title and the expectations, usually without the discussion or like the real understanding of what that means in the long run. We have an idea of what a relationship looks like. So if we say we're in a relationship, chances there's a lot of discussion that's not happening. Or it's more of just, even if it's disagreed, it's kind of like the expected behavior. So that's why it's the problem. For no other reason than it's the expected behavior.
Well, that's what Nikki Giovanni's talking about in the video clip. Is she's saying that
Right.
she's the term she's using, and I think it's probably in the 60s or 70s. What do you say?
The clip is from 1971.
71. Okay. So I'm gonna use the terminology of that era. She says, "Let's jive on the dream." She says,
Right.
why can't we fake it till we make it on the dream?" And he's like, "I can't
Right.
because I got to go to work and I got to bullshit all day with these white people on the job. And then when I come home," to Cecil's point that he said resonated with him, she's like, "I get the less of you, I get the least of you. All I get is you complaining about the job, complaining about how rough it is out here. And it's really similar today." And he's like, "Yeah, but the kid needs new shoes."
Right. Right.
And so in my own personal relationships, um, and I guess my status right now is definitely single, and I was working on being celibate, and that's not going very well. And it's because the reality versus the dream. Don't laugh at me, Steve. The reality.
Sorry,
Didn't have
trying
no
to be
pants on.
professional.
The reality is that I have a lot of self-work that I need to do. But the minute I put myself in the dating scene, especially when I don't give a fuck about what's happening, like I'm just out here just on some killing time shit,
Right.
I'm bombarded with way too much distractions. And so there's no way that I could even be serious. To your point, what was the term you said? Intentionally what, Corey?
I've been smoking.
Purposely intent. What did you say? Purposely doing what?
In
Anyway,
reference to what? I said a lot. My bad.
yeah. Okay. So you're saying the purpose of dating, like why? I talked to this woman here recently,
Oh
and
yeah. I would say I called it a intentional exclusion, like
and
intentionally excluding parts of life or like potential of what comes with life, with meeting new people, with having new engagements. Like to intentionally not engage because of the expectation or the title just seems unnecessary.
so what are you saying now that I'm trying to understand what you're saying? Once a person's in a relationship, then you cut off everybody else because I'm focused on this one relationship, right?
Yeah, I think that's the natural expectation. Not saying like that's how it works, but I think that's the social norm. Let's call it that.
And so that's why you think that you're polyamorous, because you're saying that I'm dating multiple people at the same time.
No, no, no. That's where I am now. What I was saying is the way I ended up here was growing up with no example of it being the thing to do. Like focus on one relationship, but being a kid and still because it was never like, oh, we were a broken home and so life was miserable. It was like, yeah, my dad wasn't there, your dad wasn't there, but we hella had fun the whole time because we had family and community. You know what I mean? We was fucking it up. Like we was having barbecues, we was going to the park playing volleyball, like a whole few generations of half families. You know what I
So
mean? From
I
from my
get what you're
generation
saying,
to the
but
generation above me.
what I'm
Go ahead.
asking, how does that affect my dating currently? Cecil told me a story and he didn't really expound on it really well. And maybe this is a good time. Um, we did put the gag order in effect earlier, Corey. We weren't talking about everything, but he tells me the story that when he was a kid, about 7 years old, he's in the grocery store with Mama Tita, and he's 7, but he probably looked like he was 3. So he says, he's in a grocery store and he taps his on his mom's leg and he says, "Come down here." That's how I know he was like a 3-year-old size. He says,
Mhm.
"Come all the way down here to my level so I can tell you something." And he says, "What did you tell your mom, Cease?"
I don't remember this. This has been recounted to me multiple times. She says I told her, and it wasn't at a grocery store, it was some social setting, like a house party, get together or something, holidays. And that's why I need her to come down because it's loud. And I tell her, I said, "Mom, like I'm not gonna have kids till I get married." And
Mhm.
she starts laughing or whatever. And like I don't remember her response, and she doesn't remember my response. Of course, when your kid says something uh, uh, adorable in a moment, mom's just like, oh,
Right.
whatever that interaction was like. But
Right.
so I'm telling Mike this story because I shared it with a woman that I was interested in when she asked me, "Do I have kids?" And I had to elaborate. I'm like, I got nieces and nephews. I love them. I love
On,
the hell
on
out
a
of them.
dating site that you never met.
They're all awesome women. They're all awesome kids, but I don't have kids of my own. And then that kind of dovetailed into the story about me telling my mom that I'm not going to have kids till I get married. So then I kind of did
Mhm.
some self therapy, some self actualization in the moment, and I told the woman, I said, I can only imagine what my 7, 8 year old mind thought in that moment. Just
Mhm.
like you seeing broken families, seeing Uncle Miguel with 4 kids by 4 women, seeing
Mhm.
seeing no structure, no stability, really no
Right.
like picket fence, 2.5 kids and a dog that leave it to
Right.
Beaver, that leave it to Beaver shit. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you after you did your relationship status, Corey. You said something about social norms or normalcy. And
Mhm.
what I wanted to say about that is normal is in the eye of the beholder, and
Right.
normalcy or normalization is highly overrated. Uh,
Right.
there, there are people. Susan Sarandon's been with the guy from uh, from Shawshank Redemption for like 50 years, and they're not married,
Yep.
and that
Cody
works, and
Cody
that works
Hawn
for them, and that
and Kirk
that works
Douglas.
for them. And if somehow you figure out how to be honest and forthright, then everybody goes in with eyes wide open, and you willingly choose to date 2 or 3 women willingly at the same time, then that's what your normal looks like. And there's no secret sauce or right recipe for one's happiness. Mike
So
said he was Mike said he was trying to be abstinent,
So
and
I'm cool with the
Mike, you gotta update your
Corey. I think
connection,
you're
man.
froze. Are you still there?
Nah, you
I
sounded
think
like T-Pain,
Okay.
like
you messed up. I'm good.
Really? I'm not even moving, so it's strictly Wi-Fi. I'm not snacking. I'm not
Yeah,
eating. I
yeah.
did not use the do not disturb, so I owe 10 push-ups for that. Um, but next time I got you.
Right.
Corey, what you were saying about the way that you were raised, and I'm going to put the flashlight on myself, is that to Cecil's point, I thought that was normal, right? I don't know
Right.
what's normal or abnormal when I'm a kid. I don't know what's a good relationship or a bad relationship when I'm
Right.
7, 8 years old.
I
I
know what's
just
there.
I just see when I'm present, right? Whatever's
Right.
around me, whatever's in my environment. And I tell people this story. I don't know. I think I told Cecil this, but it's been resonating with me like for weeks. Um, my dad passed away 20 something years ago, 21 years ago. And soon after he died, um, I didn't know that I was really depressed about it because I put on a good game face for most things that happened in my life. And I think it was on Facebook, and the people were asking people, what advice did I get from my dad when it comes to dating and relationships and women? And I had a really good relationship with my dad, but it's under the conditions, Corey, that you were saying. Like it was just me and my dad's relationship. I didn't even know him for the
Mm,
first 7 years of my life. So we did the best that we could with the time that we had under the circumstances that we were dealt.
right.
And so I'm thinking of these things of how did I come up with these constraints of relationships? How did I come up with these roles of male and female dating, marriage, which is how I put the
Right.
proposed this video talking about this.
Right.
And my dad said when I finally, it took me a minute, and I was like, oh yeah, my dad did tell me, how to treat women. And I put in it was like a chat room or Facebook. I said my dad said three things. He said he believed in the three F's. And so people are like, what are the three F's? Like, ooh, I really want to know, like, what secret was he giving you? And I
Hmm.
was like, I can't put it on Facebook. I said, but I'll inbox you, or you can call me. And so there's three or four people, they contacted me and said, well, what are the three F's? And when my dad told me this, I was like a teenager, like 14, 15 years old. He said, feed them, fuck them, and forget about them.
find them,
Huh?
find them.
He said, feed them. Once you're dating them, feed them, fuck them, and forget about them. And I'm laughing and being comical and sharing this with people after my dad's death. But after a while, I thought about it, and I was like, my dad wasn't really joking. He was
Right.
really kind of being honest, and he was saying that from a hurt place. Like he really wasn't equipped for relationships,
Right.
and he was telling me so that I didn't get tripped up as a man. Don't invest a lot into relationships. Don't lose yourself um, when you're dating women, and you lose who you are when you lose, so much of your passion, so much of your goals, so much of what you want to do, that now you messing around with this woman. And I'm saying that in a loving way about my dad, but I'm also saying that, what do they say? The sins of the father bear on the kids. How's that saying, Cisco?
uh, Visited
Or the
upon the
burden in the sun.
son, the sins of the father. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
All our
we'll
watchers,
edit this
all
accordingly.
all our watchers, Google that shit. Leave it in the comments.
dude.
Let us know what the fuck the saying is.
But basically,
Uh.
my dad was saying, pull an Irish fucking goodbye. Like, you know what I mean? When the relationship's over, duck the fuck out. And now I'm 48 years old. I'm damn near 50 years old, and I'm still struggling with relationships because I'm too demanding. And my problem is the reality worth investment, or am I trying to fuck myself and the woman that I'm dating with a dream? Am I selling you a
Right.
dream? Like I see us together. I see us doing big things and accomplishing goals together. but the day-to-day operations to get there, that's the reality. And I'm trying to sell you a dream. And women, after a while, they're like, the shit ain't happening fast enough. And now I'm just
Right.
getting a lease of you.
Right. Right. So it's
Get-
like, so I was thinking about, I forget what you said, but I was thinking about like how it starts. You were talking about dating. She even fucking forget about them. I don't remember. But what I was gonna say is like,
This is called the notepad for a reason.
I do have a notepad. You're right. You're
In
right.
the paper.
Hold on. Hold on. So I wanted to mention something else because so when we started, Anki was talking about you know, the realness I'm bringing in or something like that, or this new age honesty type stuff. And I just want to put out there because when you say it like that, so one of my big things is like when you say something, there's often always more that goes unsaid, right? For every little statement you can make, every little snippet you can cut, there's a million words that aren't being said. So like being honest or being open or you know wanting to love more than one or anything like that, like that doesn't make it better necessarily. You know what I mean? Like everybody thinks like the truth and honesty makes things simpler, but it really doesn't because your resolve with where you stand doesn't help somebody else's because they still have their own perception, their own journey, their own inner self they got to engage with. And so it's like yeah, I appreciate you saying that, but it's like oftentimes it feels like I'm doing something worse. Maybe.
disservice, a disservice by being honest.
Yeah, like yeah. You know what I mean? Like why do we lie? Why do we lie if somebody asks, do I look good or does this look cool or bruh, how you feel about that? And we tell them, yeah, even though we don't feel it, like it's a lie, not because we want to be dishonest, but it's a lie because maybe we don't feel like our answer would be taken from the place we're giving it from, right? Like we don't feel the safety in being understood. You know what I mean? I don't feel safe that if I'm truthful with you, you're gonna understand what I'm trying to get across. Because oftentimes what comes with the truth is pain or misunderstanding, more questions, doubt, fear, all this other stuff. So it low key kind of sucks, and it makes like monogamy make a lot of sense. Like if you really gonna be fake, so check me out, check me out. I'm not switching over, but I'm saying like just because I'm one way doesn't mean it's the best way or the given way or the way I even. It's not like a goal that I'll stay this way. This is just where I'm at. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's not a contest. So it's not
Yeah, and it's not a
monogamy
contract.
versus
Exactly.
polygamy versus it's a either. So
Right. Right.
you can Mike can be celibate. He can date someone next month. He can be engaged 6 months down the road. That engagement
Right.
could be called off, and then he could soil his oats like in coming to America for the next 3 years, and then
Right.
maybe he meets the
Marry
one.
somebody for the rest of his life. You know
Exactly.
what I
So
mean?
there's not we put we put the pressure on us. So yeah,
Right.
your mom wants grandkids, and yes, you should settle down and have a good woman, and that's what society tells us. But if you meet somebody and you guys are genuine with each other and you make each other better. I was talking to my sister Dawn about this the other day. She sent some clip and she's like, "Oh, we can do this dance in my next wedding and yada yada yada." I said, "Well, yeah, we can dance anytime, Don. We don't have to have a special occasion for us to dance. And yeah, I hope you find somebody
Real quick,
that
because I'm
deserves to
about to
be with
forget
you."
this, and I feel like you're gonna tell a long story. So let me finish my point. So
He's on one.
so
He's yeah,
so
the weed is in full effect.
but I was really looking forward to making this point. So, because so I was saying like it makes monogamy make sense, and Mike gave me the face like, well, what do you mean? Nigga just gave this whole speech on, you know, polyamorous, and it's like monogamy makes sense because it's easier. Because in monogamy, the rules are set. You know what I mean? You know the players, you know the roles, you know the limits.
That's deep.
So
Okay, gotcha.
you can fall in line. You know what I mean? It's like this this is gonna sound
Trust me.
hilarious, but
Trust me, it's not
polyamory is
easy.
well, I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying like everything's everything that happened is a given. You
It,
know what I
the,
mean?
It's understood.
the lie,
Exactly.
the lie is easier accepted.
Yeah.
Not the
Yeah.
lie, the rules.
The
How the
That's
the
game's
agreement.
played.
right.
How
The
the game's
agreement,
played.
whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like people in monogamous relationships are playing NFL Super Bowl football. With polyamory, we're playing smear the queer or whatever. You know what I
Flag.
mean? Like there's no rules, whatever, throw the ball around. I'm it, you're it, I'm not it. You know what I mean? But with emotions, you know what I mean? With connection and whatever. But so that's what I was gonna say is like that's why it kind of makes sense because it's easier because the rules are set. But for me, that's what doesn't make sense. Like easier doesn't mean better, or easier doesn't mean obvious or given. So it's like maybe my personality just naturally feels the need to go the other way. Maybe I'll land with one because I can't find multiple that I could really be happy with. And so I feel the need to invest in a specific individual. But I'm not going to chase that like I think it's any more realistic than finding multiple because again, I don't have really examples of a bunch of successfuls. So it's just as likely that, that's not the way to go. All right. That was it. Continue your story on.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a story. It's more of an anecdote where she, in her mind, this clip. I guess they were dancing at a wedding and kids and adults and stuff, and she's like, "We're gonna do that dance in my next wedding." And I told her, I said, "Don, we can dance anytime. We don't need a special occasion to dance and have a good time."
Right.
And while I hope you find somebody that deserves you and treats you accordingly, um, that might not necessarily end up down the aisle either.
Right.
But women feel that societal pressure more than we do. If a woman isn't married or if a woman doesn't have kids, that's frowned upon. There's something wrong with her. Why doesn't she want what every woman should want, whether it's biological or otherwise? As
Mm-hmm.
men, I don't think we have that same burden.
I do.
That
I'm
same inward pressure.
I'm not saying to
So
the degree, but
quick, I was just gonna say that I would weigh that, and I want to hear what you got to say, Mike. I would weigh the women feel the burden more with we have the tendency to be more careless. So we kind of end up balanced in the same place. The women have the burden, and we're careless enough to not fall into the trap, not anything like that, but just like play into the role or make the mistake or not use protection or something. Like we're more careless with it, and we end up in this fake loop of them balancing the burden and us dealing with our mistakes or our half decisions or something like that.
We're stumbling through.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
and what does the pressure and the stumbling do? So women are feeling the pressure. So now you got to find what I call a ready-made family, right? Women are just trying to find a qualified guy to fill this void to help be a role model to already kids. I'm stumbling where now the woman wants me to be this good guy, this role model to some children that aren't mine. And so that's where Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin, and she's like, hey, let's just fake it. But you fake everything else. You lie to everybody else. How come you can't lie to me? And he's like, I can't lie to somebody who I love. And she's like, shit, yes, you can. And you do. And so I think what you're saying, Corey, about, and I don't think that you're polyamorous, but maybe you are. I'd have to look up the definition of that. But I think what you're saying is you just want to be honest. You don't want to say, hey, that I'm not dating multiple women at the same time. And they do know that, right? Because you're saying some of these are just kind of like, they're not all romantic, correct?
Right, but it's definitely even if it's not romantic or it's not sexual, it's outside the bounds of what would be appropriate monogamously. You know what I mean? Whether it be flirting, whether it be uh meeting up, whether it be the kind of conversations we have or the things we talk about. You know what I mean? There's certain things that would be, or even whether we've been previously sexual, right? Like usually that's a no-no. You know what I mean? Like, oh, y'all was having fun, y'all was, you know what I mean? Like that makes me uncomfortable. So it's like it's relationships like that, not relationships in the current dating sense, but just relationships in the they've continued going past the cutoff of whatever next person I meet of interest.
And so what keeps you engaged in whatever type of relationship with these women where you don't cut it off and you
That
guys
I never come out of it spiteful. I never come out of it feeling like it was wasted time. Like I invested into this. I learned, chances are I learned something about myself. I learned something about you. I know somebody else in this world. So I never come out of it like, fuck you bitch, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? It's always like, yo, this doesn't work on a continual thing. Like you're not the one, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean like there's no value here. You know what I mean? It's not a it's that I guess that's where I come from. It's like it's not an all or nothing. Like most of life is in the gray. You know what I mean? Everybody tries to think of it as black or white, we're together or we're not, but it's like, okay, we could do that and it'd be awful. Now you're going through life with all these broken hearts from these broken relationships, from these fuck people that you can't never talk about. Or you could realize that you was there for a reason. And so maybe there's still value for the both of you continuing in some way. Maybe it's romantic, maybe it's not romantic, maybe it's friendly, maybe it's consistent, maybe it's not, but it's never a purposeful cutoff like, oh, well, we're not going to last forever. Okay, well, now we never talk again. Like I never come out of a relationship feeling that way. And so that's how I end up and I don't even like the title relationship again because so many things go unsaid. I don't think the timeline of how often I see or talk to people matches up with the title relationship. But it's like that's how you end up with that continual, I don't even know what to call it. You know what I mean? That's how it ends up being more than one, right? So it's not I'm out there trying to get four at the same time. Hey, yo, I need four, I need three, I need two, and I'm bring them in. It's more like, oh, I've known you for the past 6 years. We still kick it. We still cool.
Yeah.
Whatever. I've known you the past 10 years. We still kick it. We still cool.
right,
Just whatever. And it just,
It's
even though
cyclical.
you
It's cyclical.
yeah, yeah.
even
And
if
it's
they
like,
may be dating somebody else, you're still in contact over whatever time period.
over whatever time period and
Yeah.
not even on the low, you know what I mean? Chances are they've told them about me or whatever because I've been around that long. You know what I mean? I've been around that long. She's been around that long or something like that. So, and it's, in my opinion, that's how it should be. I should be able to tell you this story about the homegirl that I used to date back in the day, but I might see in the next couple months because that was a part of who I am. That's a part of my life, and none of that should be ixnayed for the title or for the now. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like this is us type situation. Like us is a lot bigger than you and me. Like
Well,
in reality,
we both have a past. Don't act like I'm the only second guy that you dated. You know what I mean?
right? And why should we? Why should we? And so I don't know where I fall on the fake it or not because I get the value there. Yeah, okay, as a society that makes sense, but realistically on the day to day, I'm not happy faking it.
So that's
And I'm
why
not and I'd rather show my kids how to make decisions that are going to make them happy and how to make decisions that are about them rather than how to make decisions of sacrifice and how to make decisions of how to fake it.
the
You know
social
what I mean?
the social norms are lying because
Right.
if me and my brothers don't have the same dad, my mom doesn't want to talk about that. She wants to keep it pretty uniform when we're out in public.
Right. Right.
So in my personal relationships, and me and Cecil talked about this, and I think this is a great. I wish I would have taken notes earlier when Cecil described kind of your superpower. I don't know if he can remember that, but he was saying Corey has an innate ability to be present and analyze and do. Can you remember what you said, Cease?
Yeah, I told Corey the same thing the other night.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if you can think of Doctor Strange and the Avengers. So he has this ability where he's on the cosmic realm looking down on himself. And Corey's able to do that emotionally and analytically. He's in the situation and he's present in it, but then he can pull himself out of it and give unbiased, unemotional analysis. And whether you're 30 or 80, like that's a really useful skill set hard to find that's hard to fine tuned because by the very existence of being in a situation, you change it and you bring your luggage, you bring your emotions to that situation. So if you're able to remove that and look at it purely analytical, not good or bad, but just kind of matter of factly, that's a superpower.
But
not a lot of people do that.
And I appreciate the compliment, but even more so what it does is it makes the way I approach or talk about things real inconsistent. Because I'm willing to change my mind at any time. With
yes,
any new piece of information, we could if you could give me one line and this could be a flat earth. You know what I mean? Like don't get me wrong, I'm round earth, but I'll listen to somebody. If they tell me it's flat earth, I'm like, yo, what do you know? Do you really know something? Maybe you know, and then I'll be with you, bro. You know what I mean? Like, but I think that's hard though, because I think most people, when it comes to connection, life partners, are looking for consistency. Like change is bad. They're looking for what? Commitment, loyalty, you know what I mean? And these things require a level set of where you stand, what your opinions are, what your view on life is. And I don't find myself fitting in that bubble because, you know, again, I can be swayed. So it doesn't make sense.
I with that being said, I feel like I'm a great friend and I'm a horrible lover for similar reasons to what you're saying. And I'll use an example.
That's a perfect statement. I'm a great friend. I'm a horrible lover.
I'm a horrible lover because if you want me to be
not sexually, just to be clear, I do pretty good sexually. But
yeah. I don't want to toot my own horn either, but I second that motion. Which is why
entered the comic relief portion of the podcast.
which is why I'm struggling at the celibacy part right now because I'm good. So there was a conversation, a phone call a couple of weeks ago, and because of Cecil's situation, we hadn't talked to him, and people hadn't talked to him in a long time. And so one of the people from Texas called, and I patched him in on the phone call, and it was a really cool connection. It was a great conversation. The energy was high, and the way that it happened was just organic. And so Cecil started asking him about his parents. He asked me, he couldn't remember his middle name. I don't know why Cecil is obsessed with people's middle names, but that's something he does. And then the dude said, hey, man, hold the fuck up. You act like it's only been like 2 or 3 months. It's been 12 years. No fucker just trying to. And I think as friends, me and Cecil always fall back in line. Like we ain't missed a beat, and we don't.
Right.
In relationships, if a chick don't call me for a day and a half, I want to know what the fuck's up.
Right.
What the fuck are you doing? How come the fuck you ain't? Now my best friend could drop off the face of the earth for a decade and a half, and I'm like, I'll see him. We'll catch right back up.
But that's my dog. You know what I mean?
That's my dog. And so what you're saying, Corey, is that for me, the social norms are, if we don't check in, then you're cheating or I'm cheating. And I don't even know where that came in. And maybe it's because my dad gave me this feed them, fuck them, forget them mentality.
He fucking brainwashed you at 12.
Yeah, 14. And I'm struggling because how come I can't be as flexible that you're saying, Corey, in a friendship that I in a loving relationship?
True story.
When I'm too invested emotionally, I damn near freak out like a chick. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't mean that. And that's what I was saying. The law of attraction is now I'm fulfilling this prophecy of, oh, all relationships don't work well, so fuck it anyway. You know what I mean? I knew this shit was not gonna work. I knew that I don't have good examples of relationships working. So once it's bad, I'm not like you, Corey. I'm sorry, you're muted, Corey.
I was hella muted. I was just gonna say it's not just your dad though. Like it's a societal thing. Like there's not a book you read, a movie you could name where it's normal to keep the friend and everybody's okay with it. Where you have two ex-girlfriends at Christmas because they all know your grandma and it's all love. Like give me a story or a movie that's portrayed that's okay. So it's not just a pop thing or even a childhood thing with me and seeing how my family is. Like there's no acceptance for it visually for the masses. You know what I mean? You're part of a special situation if you've seen it. You know, you get a documentary of yourself if you're part of it type shit.
So I'm gonna put myself in the hot seat so we can get back to the magic that we fulfill on our podcast. And I'm open to whatever criticism, whatever constructive opinions that you guys have about me.
It's about growth.
Yes, and that's what this is about. So my last relationship just kicked my ass, and once it caught up with me mentally and emotionally, it was kind of exactly what you were saying, Corey. When I met the woman's family, I go over to her family's house for like the holidays last year, and somebody comes over to the house and they're like, "Hey, look who's here!" And this guy comes over, and he comes in. And they introduce him to me. We all sit down and we're watching TV and drinking and eating, and the holidays.
Right.
And so I asked the girl. I said, "Oh, that was cool. That was your cousin. Who was that?" And she was like,
"Who that woman, Harpo?"
She was like, "He's kind of a family member, but me and him dated."
Right.
I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Okay. Right.
Yeah,
You ain't tell me that before I shook the motherfucking hand.
Well, why he just pop up on Family Day? Like, how many dudes do that? Like, how many guys you got that's just gonna pop up? But like, to your point, Corey,
he's got history with the family.
How can I not be understanding that there's going to be other guys, and maybe all of her exes weren't bad, right?
Right.
And now
you're not the first good dude to come around
or stick around.
Right.
Or good.
Right. And so now, hey, Cease, that's where I'm like, whoa. Like, he's an ex? And she's like, yeah, he kind of knew my cousin too. And so my cousin knew him, and I happened to date him, and we didn't even know that he was my cousin's friend, and I dated him. So, and the dude was fucking hella cool, where I couldn't put no haterade on it at all. He was
like you understood why they liked him.
I liked him.
Right.
It's like, hey man, I can't wait till next Christmas, and shit, I'm gonna see him this Christmas because I'm not invited. Yeah, I'm not that kind of dude. Like, you break up with me, like, I don't want to fucking be around y'all.
Right.
So my point is that, and I want to put myself in the hot seat, that when I started asking her questions about the nature of their relationship, she said I was asking too many questions.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm just asking because I want to know. I need to know. I feel that I need to know. And she got hella bothered by that.
You said you was ready for the hot seat. I got some fire for your ass to keep going.
Um, unleash the fire, unleash the
No,
kraken.
go ahead. Finish first. Let me
Wait,
build up. I'm
is
powering
that
up right now.
is that conversation happening at the gathering, or this is after the fact?
After the fact, because he was so hella cool when he was
Right,
there, I'm still under the impression that this is family.
Yeah.
Like
right,
he came to the house and they were like, "Hey, cool, look who's here." And it was she was like, and they just introduced me. They didn't even say that this is old girl's boyfriend or nothing. And
right.
so at the end, he was like, "Oh, nice to meet you." He's like, "Man, I'm pretty sure I'll see you around." And so I'm thinking, "Oh, this is family. This is her cousin.
Mhm.
Um, somebody's, a relative to the family." Then when I asked her, I said, "Hey, it was nice meeting your cousin. He was hella cool." She's like, "Yeah, he's not like cousin like that. He's cousin
Hey,
kissing."
Unc, you in the bathroom? Is that why you turned your camera off? And he
And he
muted himself. It
and he
must have been
muted me.
bad. It must have been bad.
No, I'm not in the bathroom.
You just ran out the bathroom. You was about to be in the bathroom. Go ahead, Mike. My bad.
No, I'm not in the bathroom.
Kitchen.
You don't gotta make us believers. You know what I mean? Do you? Do you?
So
Continue, Mike.
this is after the fact that I'm saying, "Hey, I need the backstory," and that's what the podcast is about, right? Give me the backstory now that I'm the guy in your life. And so many things that when I would ask her, she was saying that I'm asking too many questions, to the point
Mm-hmm.
where I'm actually okay with the relationship not being cool. She said one time something was none of my business. Not about that, but another question that I asked.
Right.
And at that point, I'm hella offended. Like, what do you mean it's none of my business?
Right.
And I don't like secrets, and secrets to me are unhealthy because I see how it affects my family. So why wouldn't you, if you did it, I'm not judging you. I'm not even saying it's a mistake. Just tell me what the fuck happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not telling me makes me that now you're making my imagination wander. And that's what the video was about with Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin is. Are
Yeah.
people do people respect the lie, the dream, or do we respect the reality? And I think I'm in limbo. But go ahead, shoot the
So
fire.
I was halfway being sarcastic, but so you said a lie, a dream, or reality. I'm trying to write that down.
Yep.
Is that what you said? Okay. So
Say that line over.
Go ahead, Mike.
Where do people want to be at in the relationship? Is it the reality of what the relationship is? That's where they tell women don't date potential, right? Date the guy for where he's at. A lot of women and men say, "Oh, the person has potential," but that's not the reality. Where are you at? The reality is, I don't have a car or my credit score is low. The dream is once I get my car, once I get my degree, once we buy this house, we're going to be happy.
Right.
So
Right.
we're not happy until we do that. And so we're faking the funk with each other because we're just kind of fucking around till these things pop into place, and they're just supposed to drop out of thin air. We're not going to put no
And
work in.
and we don't even know, even if we do put work in, we're assuming that's what happy is. We don't
Or
even
that
know.
it's going to bear fruit.
Exactly. So where I was gonna start with that, Mike, because you said, so I got two things. The last thing you said was that you took it as a secret, and you saw secrets destroy your family, whatever, right?
They're unhealthy.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. But think about this. Nothing's a secret until somebody else wants to know. You know what I mean? So a secret is really like you got to really forget about the other person's self to consider it a secret. You know what I mean? Because think about it. There's so many things that you don't know that she could tell you that you don't consider secrets until you find out you don't know about them. Right? Now they're secrets. So that's the question, is like, what is a secret besides something you want to know? And if
Well,
that's the case, is that really what makes it unhealthy? The fact
it's
that you want to know it?
Yeah, it's the unknown. Yeah, I want to know. And even if you don't want to tell me, even if it is none of my business, there's a way to say that, right? That's why
So
I
that's
that's why I used the example about Cecil getting on the phone call with somebody we haven't talked to in 12 years, which is good friendship, right? And friendship,
mhm.
it's like, hey man, over time I'll catch you up.
But think about what you just said. You said you can say that, but there's a way to say that. Why? Because you're in a relationship? Like there's no rules and regulations to how a conversation goes when you find yourself on the other side of the conversation. Like you're saying that's how it goes because that's the rules of the game.
Because that's what I
We've
want.
we've
We're
now
back
put
to
a label on this.
expectations.
Exactly. We've now put a label on it. We put a title on it without no real conversation. We just have an idea of what this should be, and now the rest is supposed to be a given. Like that's the disadvantage. Is you can't even have the conversation because you're stuck every time the conversation doesn't go how it should.
Very true. And
Right? How much further could you have got if you would have just rolled past that? Like, okay, well, what is you willing to tell me? Is there anything more you'd be willing? And so the first thing, was what is the secret? The second thing is like, if we're being honest, and I answer this probably like as a typical man myself, how many other things have you been that interested in before that conversation to that intensity? You know what I mean? How much was you really grilling her? Like, I really want to know what you got going on. Tell me how your day was. What happened at work? Where'd you go? What'd you do? You know what I mean? Like, and even if you did, that might not be a good thing because that's just maybe overpowering if every conversation goes like that. But for that to be the first thing that you try to step intensely to seems less genuine than that's how it should be. You know what I mean? That's like a security factor
I was
because you fucked up and liked the dude. That's what really fucked you up.
that's really fucked me
Well,
up.
he got cheated out of the instant animosity. He got cheated out of the dislike. So he came in with his guards down. Oh man, this guy's cool. And then
Right.
he couldn't hate on the guy because he's really likable. So
Right.
now that misspent animosity, that dry gunpowder that he didn't get to shoot off, it has to be directed towards her because
Right.
he feels like he's discounted somehow, even though he's not. She didn't invite
Right.
him. She didn't even care if he showed up. He's there to see
Right.
the rest of the family. And you're with her and you're leaving with her. So everything you were projecting, that's in your headspace, Mike. That has absolutely nothing to do with that moment or the relationship or that woman.
So not to plug myself for the four agreements, but you was taking it awfully personal.
Yeah. Tell that to my heart.
Tell it to my heart.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those is emotions. That's all you.
And so back up to what I said earlier, I put these unrealistic expectations. What Cecil said, I have these crazy fucking standards in relationships for women that shit I'm not even going to fucking meet as a man.
No.
Right? Yeah, I want my woman to be able to cook, clean, love me, listen to me, be a confidant. And if the flat tire on the car needs to be fixed, I'm gonna go like this. I can't. Better call AAA. You better have AAA.
Right.
I ain't got AAA, baby. You gotta change the tire.
Ooh.
Right. You good. You good.
Let me go through my phone and see if one of my homeboys has got a jack or something.
Right.
Where's Rico when you need him?
Matter of fact, call your ex-homeboy because he says he can fix it.
From Christmas, the one you didn't tell me about.
We talked about it over Christmas.
I bet he got AAA.
Call that nice ass nigga up. He seems like he seems really good at fixing shit.
So this is a true story. So I don't want to go to Pierre's. I rarely take a woman I'm involved with to Pierre's because someone's going to be in there that I have a pass with. It's not a comfortable situation. But it's her suggestion. we're coming from downtown.
I had a similar situation. Keep going.
We're coming from downtown, and she bends, she makes the turn, and I'm like, where are you going? She's like, let's get a drink. I'm thinking we go in the liquor store. She pulls in the
Right.
parking lot. And I got my head in my hand, and I'm like, oh man, this migraine's killing me. We're not in the door. Security's embracing me. Hey man, fam, what's up? Hey, is Bates in here? Yeah, Phil. We deep. It's a Friday, Saturday night. It's off the motherfucking coat rack.
Right.
I'm not even to the bar to get a drink, and I've had to meet and greet the 9-1 freaks, Narcy, Phil, Bates. Like, she's at the bar trying to get a drink, and I'm like the alderman going, hey, make sure you vote. Make sure you vote.
Right.
And she's like, are you serious right now? I said, I thought you were going to the liquor store. You wanted to come to my neighborhood bar. and
Right.
now you feel some kind of way that I'm
Right.
not at your
You
side.
thought you was showing me some cool shit you found out about.
Ooh, that's
I
what
was-
that's what it is.
And if she didn't pull away, I would have gladly introduced her to every person that I passed, Mike.
Right. Right.
So now we're at the bar. The bartender we have a history with. There's another girl on the dance floor we have a history with. There's a girl upstairs waiting on her catfish that I have a history with. And before we leave, another girl comes in that we have a history with.
You say we, meaning who's we?
Me.
Okay. You say we.
Mike's about to come at me. I wasn't at Christmas dinner.
Shots fired. Shots fired. All you light-skinned nice motherfuckers around the house. Popping.
So within an hour's time, like there's 4 points of connection that if I was brave, I would have gave her the heads up. But
Mhm.
all the women, it's in the past. We broke up, we separated amicably, and there's no there. So is it on me to be brave and vulnerable and say, hey, if that bartender made your drink weak, it's because boom, boom, bap, boom. And
Right.
you think the girl upstairs gave you the stink eye when you was waiting for your catfish is because boom, bap, boom. And the
Right.
girl as we was coming in and like, come on, like that. That's an additional burden. And if
Right.
if any of those women still had a torch for me, or if I still had a torch for any of those women, then maybe I come clean. But that night, she thinks she's turning me onto something. She thinks she's showing
Right.
me her hood credentials,
Right.
not knowing I've been walking to Pierre since I was 12.
Right. I'd go behind the bar and make a drink right now if I
Exactly.
wanted to.
I make drinks. I put catfish in the basket before, Corey. I'm slizzard.
right.
I'm slizzard and the girl's busy.
Hold
And I'm
on.
like, you ain't even dropped this catfish yet.
I got it, yo.
I got you.
Let me do context. She's waiting in line to order a drink, and you coming back with 2 drinks.
Yes, literally, beer and a motherfucking cocktail, Tanqueray
There's a
tonic that I
line.
stole from Bates.
There's a line at every bar. How do you get 2 drinks? I know people, right?
So to bring it full circle, yes, you wanted your girl to say something when the guy walked in, but the fact that she didn't say something leads me to
Said
believe
something.
there's nothing there, Mike. Like it's not
Right.
even worth addressing because
Like there was nothing to defend.
correct, because it's so done. And the dude is family. He was family before the relationship. He's family after the relationship. And
Right.
she's moved on and she's with you. So my relationship was so new. It was still in that careful stage. It's like you're holding a raw egg in your hand. You know, those first 2 weeks of a relationship, it can go any which way but loose. And if you hit a pothole, your damn egg breaks.
Cracked
So
it.
Right.
in those formative weeks, I couldn't put myself out there fully. I couldn't
Right.
tell her there was 4 women in the bar that I had previously slept with. Like, that's overwhelming.
Yeah, it's too much.
Right.
Yeah, no,
Right.
there's no way the relationship can come back from that. So
Right.
now,
Right.
9 months,
And I'm gonna write it down. Go ahead.
9 months, 12 months down the road, when we were on solid ground, and she has a chance to know me, and she has a chance to meet my family, and I have deposits in the relationship bank, Mikey. You need to bank there. Then if we go to Pierre's, I didn't get any of that audio, Mike.
I said at the National Bank of Booty.
Djibouti. It's
Djibouti.
African branch.
Okay.
But nah, that's the facts though. Like, everybody treats honesty like there's a right time for it. You know what I mean? Or everybody treats honesty like it was a solution. Like, if it was gonna cause problems anyway, to be honest, it's not really a solution. If I think I can avoid problems, well, it's natural to take the path of least resistance, right? So if you think I don't have to go through this conversation, you're gonna try to avoid the conversation. You know what I mean? Which is natural and no reason to be offended. You know what I mean? It's not about you or about the situation, but maybe it's so. Okay, I think where I just led myself is maybe it's about the fact that you never got a chance to decide if you was okay with it or not, right? Not gonna say you was consciously there mentally, but there's the moral question, right? Should a motherfucker tell you? Should Uncle Buddha have said it from the get-go? Because if you're really trying to build, there should be no question, right? If you know it's something that somebody would probably want to know, should you not say it? But that comes, now we're back to the should. Now we're back to the obligation to say something that I think is either unnecessary or no big deal for your comfort.
Unreasonable expectation.
You know.
So and I'm getting uncomfortable in the hot seat, but I want you guys to turn the heat up a little bit more. Back to what you
started.
Well, get busy.
I'm trying to light the pilot, motherfucker.
What you said, Corey, previously about was I grilling her about other things prior to that? What I felt like, what I feel like now is that I don't want to give my woman the least of me. If I'm in a romantic relationship with a woman and I come home and I dump all my problems on you, I want to know about what's going on with you. And not just what's going on with you today. I want to know, how did you feel in the last 2 relationships so that I don't make those same mistakes. So
right.
I'm grilling her lightweight on being nosy, but I also want to know in honesty so that I be a better guy. And not a better guy like I'm in competition with Joe Blow. I just don't want to make fucking mistakes that you can easily make because, you know.
So you was asking, but that just makes it sound like you was asking for a cheat code.
Mike doesn't play video. Mike doesn't play video games.
And I say that as a joke and being funny and turning up the heat or whatever. But I mean, it's not just you. Like, I've done it before and stuff like that. Like, we ask these questions. You know, it's like 21 questions. What's your favorite color? What's your this? What's your that? What's your that? Now I know you. You know what I mean? Or it's like, yo, tell me this, tell me that, tell me that. Now I know how you work and not what not to do. But for every conversation told, you know, I mean, for every word said is 100 words not said. You know what I mean? So even by asking those questions, you didn't really know, because that doesn't give you the emotion of their relationship or their standing or how it started or anything like that. So her reaction to you in those situations is going to be completely different. So to even ask interested that way is not, again, it's a cheat code. Like, you're skipping over the skill of getting good at it. You know what I mean? Of figuring that shit out, of sucking at it for a while, getting it a little bit better. You know what I mean? Like, because you thought you had it figured out. You took notes. You know what I mean?
I took bad notes.
That is the most honest statement on the podcast this evening.
Bang. Bang.
Church.
So here's let me give you guys more ammunition to turn up more, because I want to be cooking with gas here. So
All right.
she has an adult son who's like 23, 24 years old. To your point, Corey, now I'm thinking that she's being secretive. Now I think she's a liar. Now I think she's cheating. Now I think she's withholding information. Now I
Right.
don't feel like
Because the Christmas party?
well, it was because now
It's a combination. It's a combination.
now I'm mind fucking myself. Like, if she's not being honest, or if she doesn't want to tell me everything, and Corey's right, I'm jumping the gun on so much. Now I'm going through a checklist of, oh, I'd like to know more information about that. She was vague about this too, and I was cool
Right.
with it first, but now because of, oh boy, I got a whole
Right.
bunch of now that I would like information about.
Let me
You-
see your
but you're-
resume
you're-
again.
You're Jedi mind fucking yourself, Mike.
Yeah. That's what he's
She's
saying
giving
though.
you-
That's what he's
she's
that's what he's
giving you
building to.
She's giving you no kerosene or no fluid or no fuel to feed into this. None of her
Right.
actions, none of how she treats you, none of that has changed. This is all self-harm.
Yes, yeah.
And to that point, it's she's not. But like Mike said, he said, "Tell my heart to that," and my response to that was, "That's emotional. That's all inside."
Well,
It's
Mike is a Taurus. Mike is a Taurus like I am, and we love hard. And when
Right.
we fall, it's head over heels. It's like Bugs Bunny in a damn cartoon. And
Right.
and I think Mike will co-sign this, that we can't get out of our own way. So
Yes.
he knows it's not it's not a wise maneuver. He knows that he
Probably
shouldn't
in
be
that
going.
moment.
He knows that he shouldn't be going hard at this moment for something
Right.
small,
Right.
but he can't. He can't.
get right.
And
Can't really
you got to figure that out, man, because that's self-sabotage.
and that's what I was saying. It's the law of attraction, where I'm getting the same outcome regardless of the woman. I'm getting the same outcome regardless of the relationship. I'm getting the same outcome if he would have showed up or not, right? It would have been something else that triggered me to do something stupid. And
At some point. Yeah.
Fight or
so
flight.
so here was the really kicker, which really fucked me up. Because the dude was so nice, I still like him right now. I wish like I could come back and be like,
These guys are Facebook friends.
He asked her for his number after the argument.
fuck
He's
her.
no longer with this woman, but these two are Facebook friends.
We're gonna be bros. We're gonna be bros. So I turn into a private investigator, and now I'm like doing all kind of wacky shit, and not like prying or stalking or anything, because it was a long distance relationship. Now I'm just going through all of our conversations and discussions, and now, and yeah,
You're
and now
rehashing every conversation.
every tooth, every
You're
word,
missing his expression, Corey. Say that every again.
every tooth, every word now is.
He looked like he was in the moment, like the Terminator was coming for him.
Everything's being analyzed. So somehow I'm talking about my situation, which, let's go back to the what's normal, right? I'm telling her the situation about how I came into these two daughters' life that aren't my biological kids, which is one of the reasons that occurred to me that the three of us don't have any biological children. So I'm telling her the story, the ups, the downs, the goods, the bads, the stuff that's probably embarrassing and I probably shouldn't tell her. I'm giving full disclosure of how this came about, that this one night stand is still lingering for 16 years because what Cecil said, I'm a Taurus and I love hard. So she has a son. The dad's not in the picture. That's not unusual. And so somehow when I start doing this private investigation bullshit, I'm like, where is the dad? Right now, it was cool up until I start mind fucking myself, and then it keeps getting
Oh,
worse.
he ain't got a daddy. That's cool. That's cool.
It was cool at first, right? Because I don't want
Right.
no from your past
Right.
pop. But
Right.
now this popped up, and that's not his dad. So who's his dad? Where's his dad?
Right.
And
Right.
she
Is that
really
nigga? Are they friends?
the other guy, right?
His dad.
She goes radio silence on the kid's dad.
She doesn't want to talk about it, or just not at this time.
At that time, you know, and she's not. She
To
does.
this
She's,
day, you don't have any resolution on that.
no, not at all.
So
To the-
he's a Colorado cat, and there's a likelihood that we know him.
I don't even think that's the case. I think
Then it
she's.
was a one-nighter.
So
There's
so
only
that's
a
not
few
even
options
that.
here.
That's not even the conversation. That's not even the It's irrelevant. Finish your journey, Mike.
Well, no. It's Mike needs closure.
Right.
Like if he knew,
But we're not. But giving our best guess isn't going to give him that.
Correct.
We don't
correct.
know.
Yeah. I'm just letting him know what I know. This nigga's an East Side nigga.
right. Make it simple. Break it down.
He was at Pierre's that night I was there.
I would say he's related to Phil. So it gets so bad, and that's when the relationship just it's over, because now I've just fucked myself and gotten myself into so much turmoil that I go back and I talk to the family, the aunt and uncle.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the family, and they're like, oh, nobody knows who the kid's dad is. She don't talk about it. And
So
now
it's taboo. It's the third rail.
I'm stepping on that bitch. Don't tell me. I'm the person. Do not tell me don't touch it. Don't tell me don't do it.
Right.
And I'm gonna do it 16 different ways. I'm going to let
You're
you
gonna
know.
put your tongue on it.
I don't.
Right.
Yes.
You ain't
So
shooting a 3. You're going to dunk with both hands.
now, pissed off, and I'm not pissed off. I'm not just triggered from this situation. Back to the self.
Oh my God, Mike! It's always scorched earth with you.
It's always what?
Scorched earth.
Okay.
Continue.
Like, there's
Continue
never
scorching.
no fucking vegetation left. I'm coming from a place of love, man. Like, this fucking story is hurting me. I digress. Continue.
Continue.
So now I'm triggered to all the people that I'm related to, all the friends that I know that don't have any relationship with their dad. I'm triggered to when I didn't know my dad the first 7 years of my life.
Right.
And now I'm like, how do you get to that point? How do you, if the person's dead, he's dead. If you try and he's a deadbeat dad and he doesn't want to be involved with the kid, that's cool.
You're on some deep shit here.
Well, y'all wanted to do this podcast, y'all want to get real. I'm gonna turn the heat up. Now I'm like, my oldest brother doesn't know his dad. And it hurts my heart that, okay, even though we don't know who his dad is, does he have any grandparents? Does he have any aunts and uncle?
Cousins,
right? Even if you don't, the dad does not want to be involved, and you and the dad are broke up on bad terms. How come this kid can't have access to the other side of the family? Mm-hmm. And now the person that I love, that I'm in a relationship, and I care about this woman like nobody's fucking business. I haven't cared about a chick like this in a long time. Now she's my enemy. And I am going to hold her feet to the fire for every woman,
Another Taurus trait.
if it does not want to co-parent after the relationship's over. Go ahead. What do you guys think about that?
You want to go first?
Oh my God. No.
Nah, let me go first. I'll be quick. I'll be quick.
Matter of fact, I want to wrap up the podcast.
Just got started, baby.
To be continued. Dun, dun, dun.
So I would say, man, like it's I mean, it's obvious, right? It's obvious, like hindsight's 2020, et cetera, et cetera. But to your deeper point, right? So you trying to say you're doing it, you know, for the kid and that's what matters and stuff like that. Like that's nothing but qualifying it. That's nothing but justification, right?
Yeah.
Because that kid wasn't in the other relationships where the similar situation happened. You know what I mean? So because while morally your argument makes sense, it goes against the laws of free will. So even though I'm saying where I, you know, I believe in continuing the relationship, seeing value, et cetera, I also have to acknowledge that that's not for everybody. That's not the way. That's just the place I've landed at. So because you're on this high horse of co-parenting doesn't mean she's on a lower horse by doing it by herself or wanting to do it by herself, whatever, because she has her own problems going on, her own shit going on. And that's led her to where she's at. So you coming in saying like, well, that's not right and this isn't the reason, disqualifies everything she is. It ignores the person that she has become to be by telling her that's not the way to be her. And it's not like you tried to build up to that. You just jumped into this ain't who you're supposed to be. You know, it's not like, let's work on this, let's work on that. I need to work on this. Do you see me work? Do you want to grow together? It's just, you're on the wrong side of the tracks. Which disqualifies, like, motherfucker, this is where I was born. Like, this is where I ended up. You know what I mean? It's not like I woke up one day and was like, I'm gonna be here. Like, this is what happens. And like, so to disqualify all that, just, you know, it sounds good, but once you think about it more than two layers, it's really insensitive. It's really unempathetic.
It's careless.
It's selfish.
Yeah. On multiple levels.
Yeah. Whether it be using the kid to qualify or disqualifying who she is or jumping into the deep end. Like, those are all things that have nothing to do with her. But she's the target, so she must be the reason. Like, you're on some WMDs type shit.
Hold up. It's not your turn. It's not your turn. Put your tongue in your mouth.
Go ahead, Unc. That's it. That's my piece.
So, imagine you meet a woman, head over heels. You got that immediate link. She finds out you're from Park Hill and that you might have gangbanged or that you was some type of street cat, but she only knows yacht. She only knows the urban renewal Mike Tipton. But she hears about the people you kept company with and who your brother is. And she prejudges you. And she's like, oh man, this hurts my heart. Like, I really thought you could have been the one, but your background is a disqualifier. I dated a guy from Park Hill before, and he ended up going into jail, and I can't do it again. Like, you would feel like you haven't got to plead your case. Like, hold on, that was that guy. Look at me, like I got a sports coat. Like I run 15 miles. I run 15 miles every other day.
Right.
Like you would feel like your voice didn't matter. Like all your growth means zilch. So that's what Corey is trying to bring to you. is that this woman knows who the dad is, Mike. She knows. She was there. And heaven forbid, it was against her will.
Exactly.
I mean, you don't take
Right.
as men, we don't take shit like that into context. But heaven
Right.
forbid it was. The fact that her family can't even have the conversation about it leans me towards that.
Exactly.
But that's just me being empathetic and reading the vibes and the tea leaves and shit.
Right. But on the other side, I mean, she could have just been out there getting it recklessly and still not know.
absolutely not
But-
strapping up, one night stand. It could have been in the bathroom, and no
You know what
numbers
I mean?
exchanged, no names are exchanged. We've all done shit in the heat of the moment,
Right.
and
Right.
that's for a woman that's equal for a woman that's successful, and she's not reinvented herself because she wasn't she didn't have a
She's
bad
just
reputation
moving.
in high
She's
school.
moving differently.
Exactly.
She's successful despite that.
Correct. She has CEOs that are her Facebook friends now. So she can't
Right.
dwell in the gutters and she can't care about wild nights when she was
Right.
in her early 20s, late 30s in Houston. So Mike, you find yourself on this path time and time again, brother. And you know I love you. But God's only going to put so many good women in front of us. And it's up to us to accept them, identify them, and to love them. Hopefully we're capable of loving them in that moment. But listening to that story, I just kept envisioning myself flying an airplane that I couldn't pull up on. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull
Right.
up, pull up. It sounds
Right.
like 4 or 5 other fucking stories that you told me, man. And the only consistent denominator is you.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to cross this precipice. You have to find a way to trust. You have to find a way to believe that there's a future with this person. Because that self-sabotage shit is real. It's real for drug addicts. It's real for alcoholics. It's real for me. I can't be faithful. It's real for you. You can't get out of your own way when you have a good woman at your door. Like you read these Eckhart Tolle books and these self-help books and these self-actualization books. And I was saying this to you today on our fucking 4.5-hour phone call.
Don't laugh.
Can you believe that shit? He's at work, Corey.
Nah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I work hard every day.
You have to get out of your own way, brother. At a certain point, you got to let go and let God. And you're Christian and you came from that background. That's why I hope that statement resonates with you. Because if you can't have some type of faith, if you can't step out, if you can't have trust, trust is given. A lot of motherfuckers got it twisted, that it's earned. Did you have a daily do better on that, Corey?
I wasn't gonna say nothing. I was gonna let you ride that out. That was a good one.
I
was a
fucks
good
with
plug.
you though. I fucks with you, so I'm fuck with my nephew on daily do better.
Yeah.
Trust is given. It's not on the person, it's on you. If you're willing to give that, if you're willing to love this woman and you're willing to say, hey, we got a future, we're going to build on something, then something in you, inside of you has to change, Mike. And this is like we used to call Paul the Grinch because he had that little bitty ass heart. And then his mom and we came into his life, it expanded a little bit. And then Tracy's grandkids fucking busted that thing open. And he's a fully formed human being. He's still he's still Paul, but at least he's loved. At least he's been loved and he's loved. And that's more than we could have said when we met him. So, man, Paul keeps coming on these podcasts. Shout out to Paul Gell. Shout out. We're not protecting the names of the innocent right now.
That'll
Not
be
at all.
out. Yeah.
But you have to, it's all inside of you, Mike. This woman that you told me about. She's a good woman. She's successful. She invited you into her life. And I don't know if it got too real. It's got to be more than the handsome, gregarious guy at Christmas. You're looking for anything. When you're in your fight or flight response, if it wasn't this Christmas thing, it would have been like, well, you said you was going to call me at 7:00 on Friday. I didn't hear from you. And then you're all in your headspace again. So when you're in that, you're looking for anything mode, you're going to find it, because nobody can be 100% 100% of the time. Life happens. Right. And when you get that, when you look through that keyhole and it doesn't look right, then you go to your panic mode, your fight and flight mode, your worst case scenario mode. Instead of saying, hey, babe, I don't even want to bring this shit up, but I know we were supposed to talk Friday at 7. I didn't hear from you until the next day. And I don't want to belabor a point or beat it, but I'd appreciate a text. You don't owe me an explanation. I just got a text message, sorry.
Do not disturb.
It's on do not disturb. It didn't make a noise, but it still prompts on my screen. I'm on do not disturb. I don't owe you an explanation.
Nigga, if anybody disturbs, I'll step on the third rail. I want to know who it is. Who texted that?
You can't boss hog my relationships.
So and the other part though is like you know, when it's like, how do you get out of that, right? So it's like everything in life is momentum, right? Everything in life is momentum. The more
practice.
The more momentum you got, right? And that's where the momentum comes from, right? Like you keep practicing and you get more and more of it. But that works both ways, right? So if this is the momentum you've had relationship wise, again, like that's a momentum. You don't get to just jump out of that. You know what I mean? Like it's been pushing. You know what I mean? Like that's how Mike rolls. And so it starts with little shit in those moments. You know what I mean? Are you able to realize in this moments like you're feeding the momentum? You know what I mean? When a conversation starts, or even you don't even have to stop the conversation, but somewhere midway, you realize I'm feeding the momentum. You know what I mean? It's about pulling out of those moments whenever you can to slow yourself down. And then only until you stop and you're not having those moments can you start to like build and get better type shit. You know what I mean? Like I think everybody thinks, including myself at times, you think you're gonna do like when I decided I was gonna run a fucking mile in 7 minutes. And I like there's no even once you make, so there's no change until you make the decision. But even once you make the decision, you still got to deal with the momentum you've already built. You know what I mean? So even though I made the decision, I was about to run this mile in 7 minutes, I still hadn't I hadn't helped my momentum of being a fat ass and not going to the gym for 8 months. You know what I mean? So there was no time to change. I just tried to jump, over. I tried to teleport. You know what I mean? And life was like, nah, buddy, that's not how it works. So find those little moments to just slow yourself down. And it's going to take time and it's going to suck and you'll probably fail, but that's the only way it works.
One final thing, Mike. One of our first conversations with me, you and Corey on a 3-way call or triple FaceTime was I was telling you about the seminar I took. And it's about being in the moment, self-actualization. And one of the most important things I took from that was fighting against what your brain is trying to tell you. So you see a guy in bum ass shoes and his knees are skinned out in his pants. And even before he says something to you, you're like, this nigga's panhandling. He need to get out of my face.
Right.
Your brain's telling you this. You're not thinking it. Your brain's on autopilot. But it's already conditioned you to a response to this guy coming up to you in busted shoes and his knees out.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what he says to you. He might went to junior high school with you, but you've already conditioned yourself to a hard no, I ain't got no time for this. So what I learned in that seminar was the moment that thought comes in your head, you got to challenge it because your brain is on autopilot and it's going to make these suppositions, and it's going to try to streamline the communications, and it's going to try to do all the stuff it can on autopilot so that we don't have to make any effort and that our day can be more smoother.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have these suppositions, and for you, let's say what it is, so you get this tingle, you get this relationship tingle that you're being played, or that she's not who she says she is, or that her word isn't worth shit. When you get that tingle, you have to challenge it, man. And you have to be in that moment. Wait. What evidence do I have? She said she was going to call me Friday at 7 and she didn't, but she called me Saturday at 7 in the morning when she woke up, and she said, yada, yada, yada. Not that she owed you an explanation, but there's no evidence contrary to the point that she did it
Right.
intentionally to spite you, going back to the 4 agreements.
Right.
Don't personalize the shit. Don't take offense to it. Talk about it, let it breathe. So if you
Right.
start challenging that seed before it has a chance to be fertilized and grow, and now you're on full load, pull up mode, that's too late. When you get that tingle, you either have to talk about it and be honest with her in that moment and say,
Right.
hey, I haven't had a lot of healthy relationships, and I normally don't talk about this shit, but I'm feeling you and I feel some kind of way about this. So this is where I'm at. So that's one choice. The other choice is you can press reset, press pause, and try to recondition your brain to challenge that thought, because there's no there, Mike. You're seeing ghost. You're seeing relationship ghost. But that is the harder task. That's the harder task, to challenge your mind in that moment to say, hey, hold on, I'm overreacting. Oh, hold on, this is a pattern that I've been on for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the harder task. The easier task is to be honest with her in that moment and be like, hey, I come from damage. Can we talk about this? Like,
Right.
that's easy,
Right.
because you're putting yourself out there, you're available, she's going to reciprocate to that. But
Right.
to challenge
And
your own, what you say, Neff?
I was just gonna say, and trust is like it's so to go back, it's learned, not earned, right? Like somebody has to learn you and then give you that trust. But it's like, in order, if that's what you're trying to have them learn from you, you probably got to be willing to show it first, right? And so that's what he's saying with the I come broken, I come damaged. If you're willing to come that honest, I mean, some people, they won't know how to handle it. They'll run for the hills, like, nah, I'm good. But that comes with the assumption, right? With the bum you seen and you assumed he was like no good, needed some change, or you know what I mean? It wasn't just dude having a bad day. So like, you got to be willing to take that first step. And then, you know, sometimes that shit'll work, sometimes it won't, but that's where you're at. And that's the key. Like, you can't expect, because that'll be your slip up. You'll condition yourself mentally, you'll make that change, and the person won't change with you. But that's how we expect it to work. That's why apologies usually suck, because I'm over it. And this is why, like, to this day, I really don't say I'm sorry or I apologize, because it's like, there's a couple levels to it, but the main level is like, you're probably not ready when I'm ready to say it. And that's going to piss me off. And then you're going to get ready and you're going to try to say it. And then I'm going to be like, well, don't try to apologize now that you're ready to apologize. And I was trying to apologize before. You know what I mean? And so that's what'll fuck you up, is don't expect people to take the same journey and cross paths where you ready to cross paths.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's usually like the key point, is like, you gonna cross way, you're gonna already cross their path down here when they haven't even made it that far. Or you might be slow. They may have already came past that part and then you cross and it's too late, you know? So that's the key takeaway, is like, be ready to make that journey by yourself and feel good in the fact of having made that journey. You know what I mean? That's how you don't take it personal. That's how you don't make assumptions. That's how I come out of situations, like, not spiteful, not angry. Like, or at least I try to. You know what I mean? It's just like,
Well, it got so bad today that I shared with Cecil today that's happening
first
with.
of all, let me say that it's amazing that there's multiple days to this story. I find that fascinating.
You find what
Multiple days?
Days. Like this is a continuing situation.
Yeah.
Like after the initial grilling, there was more of this relationship I find fascinating. Because after the grill session, you would think, and I mean, maybe this is the typical stereotype, you would think like one of you would realize maybe this ain't no cool shit to do. But I don't think we do that. I'm not saying that on you. I don't think we do that naturally. Like you hear about people being in relationships that seem unhealthy, right? And then you from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, well, it's obvious. You know what I mean? But in that moment, and to actually make it something better is completely different.
What's
You know what I
kind of
mean? So
about the
go
plane
ahead.
crash and not being able to pull up, or a drug addict. Now I'm just chasing. I'm like a crackhead trying to get this that I don't even. It's not even gonna get me high, right? It's even if she told me everything, if she gave me full disclosure, which I can't,
Exactly.
because the relationship was so good before I fucked it up. And so I go now. Now I'm going. I don't have her to grill, so now I grill myself, and that's another thing that I know how I end up in that. I overanalyze myself a lot, so it's easy
Right.
for me to put in a relationship because I ask myself 1,000 questions before I even turn the alarm off at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Right.
But it was, even if she told me everything after she was like, "Hey man, I'm out. I'm done." You know what I mean? You're just, and I knew it was going there, but
Right.
I justified because I'm like, fuck it, ain't no relationships working anyway. You're gonna fucking answer my fucking questions. You're gonna tell me. You ain't tell nobody else. You're gonna fucking tell me. If you love me, you know, why the fuck you ain't tell me?
Right.
And
Right.
when I come to grips with myself, when I really have that come to Jesus talk with myself, I'm like, nigga, even if she told you, then what?
Right.
What if she was raped? What about
Was
that?
you, or
Oh, that's the
what if
worst case scenario. Let's say she's raped and she.
that's worse for her? What might be worse for you and your confidence is that she loves this nigga to death to this day and calls him every other day and he doesn't answer the phone. So she just goes through life with whoever she gets.
Wow. Irish goodbye. I'm out. Bye. See you guys. I can't. I asked for the heat. I can't handle the heat. I'm out of this motherfucker.
But that's the reality. Like there's no knowing. And we gotta be like, okay, like that's where the fear is at, in the unknown. You know what I mean? We're not scared of things we're familiar with, right? So when we're young, we're scared of the dark. We haven't been in the dark by ourselves that many times. You know what I mean? Then we get used to the dark. It's cool. Riding a bike,
Your
driving a car,
mama's
whatever
still
it takes.
scared of the dark.
She ain't been in the dark that many times alone. There's always been somebody there. That's how I came to be. She was like, I'm gonna keep this little nigga with me. We're gonna be in the dark together. But that's the you know, I don't even remember the point I was making. But where I'll end at is like, one, you just gotta be ready to make that journey alone. Two, really, man, it's not that serious. Like like the moment I don't if you have multiple stories like this, like that's the question you gotta ask yourself. Like I don't get the feeling you ever ask yourself, like, is it worth it? Because I can't imagine you thinking about it and being like, yep, actually I could. That's the problem.
More gas.
And
Hold
maybe that's the issue.
That's a 5.
That's the problem.
Corey, the sad thing is, yeah, not only, and when I do run out of gas, then I'm like a crackhead, right? I go
Right.
steal some more. I go steal more gas. I'm out of gas. I'm like, oh shit, that ain't enough.
Right. And so maybe not is it worth it, but why is it worth it? Like, or not even worth it, because I guess the real question is, what value is there to be had from going down that path?
A path
Because
much traveled,
right,
multiple times with multiple
they know
relationships.
you. You could go drop catfish in that motherfucker. Like, they know you there.
Mike, you're probably not gonna change. So you need a life hack because
I'm gonna cut that off. We can't put that out in the universe. You hella gonna change because you're on your path to change,
There we
and
go.
you're gonna be all the way good.
I'm
And
talking about in the relationship realm, Corey.
me too. Me too.
So unless we get this dude a lobotomy or we hypnotize him or some juju happens, like we have to help him help himself. And that's
Yeah.
why I
But
thought
you don't do that by telling a crackhead they'll never stop smoking crack.
well my other
You
my
you gonna be a junkie your whole motherfucking life. You gonna smoke that crack, boy, till the day you die. Unless I cut your lips off, you gonna smoke that crack. Nah, man, that's not how it
So-
works.
so
You gonna
maybe
change.
instead
You
of
got this shit in the bag.
well, a crack analogy, that's pretty harsh.
We've been
my
making
buddy,
them all night. Now it's
my-
harsh.
I'm just saying, in compared to his level of self-sabotage in a relationship, I
Yeah.
think if he can be vulnerable in that moment and not angry, and allow himself to be vulnerable, and then he's like, "Hey, I don't have no good examples of a relationship, and I come
Right.
from damage. So hear me out here, and I'm gonna try not to scare you off, but this is what I'm gonna need from you, maybe for the next month or so. And then if Mike can get the trains to run on time again after a month, he might be okay. But when the next hiccup comes, he has to have this conversation again. So Mike doesn't open his mouth. He just goes from 0 to 60, and he gets in his detective mode, and the sky's falling, and then pull up, and it's just it's cyclical for him. So I think he has to communicate. He has to tell the woman what's going on with him in that moment.
I don't think so. I think that's his whole fucking problem. That was the whole story. Is him
No,
telling him
because
what's
he's
going on in that
challenging her.
moment.
He's grilling her instead of
Right.
putting himself out there. So those are two separate
So
constructs.
is it? I hear what you're saying. Is it okay though to ask her of anything? Because you're saying have the conversation and say, this is where I come from. This is what I need from you. Like, is it even okay to ask that, to put that pressure on her?
If it's
You're
love,
but it's
this isn't a first month conversation.
But if it's love is one of those should be statements. Like, because it's love, it's supposed to happen a certain way, or it's supposed to happen a certain, like, that doesn't make sense. Because everybody's going to be different, so there's no way love comes out the same way. It's no way you could put a blanket statement on it. So my point is, like, is it a conversation to be had, or is it an action to be shown? You feel me? Like, because the conversation's we could say it could go a million different ways, but it's like, it could be believed, not believed, seemed as sarcastic, seemed as fake, seemed as a way to get over. It could be the one thing he needs to say, and then everything's good. But that leaves so many other questions. Or he can make the change that needs to be made, and nothing needs to be said, but can naturally be said.
What would you have him do?
I would have him make the change within himself. Because conversations are about making us feel better about what we're doing. I'm trying to make this change. I'm trying to be better, so let me tell you about it, and you accept it, and we go from there. Be uncomfortable making the change. You're making the change for a reason. You know what I mean? And in theory, the value's obvious in action. Words can be misinterpreted, misperceived, all this other shit. There's a blanket of barrier because it's words. If it's a natural action, if it's a natural movement, there's less to be misunderstood. Because now it's not about what you're saying, it's about what they're seeing. You know what I mean? Like, you have to you have to give them words.
Yeah.
They can take your actions because you just do them all the time. That's life. You know what I mean? Like we're doing actions at every moment, every time, whatever. So the perception of that can be taken. They don't have to wait for you to open your mind or whatever. It's obvious. They can see you. Did you get interested about the day? Did you not go and have the argument you could have had the argument about? You know what I mean? Like these things can't be talked about. The effect of them can't be negotiated or explained. So why would we even pretend like that's the case?
This is pretty good, pretty profound, gentlemen. We've
I
been
think
talking at you. We've been
like
talking
3
about
hours.
you and at you for about 30 minutes, Mike. I'm curious as to what you've heard
Did you
and where
just raise your fucking hand?
and
Yes,
where
I
you
really
sit. I'm curious as what you've heard and where you sit presently,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if any of this sounds applicable to your future.
Even if this podcast, we scrap this, I got a lot of valuable information from it. And it was from a source that I never thought would be help, because I've gone to therapy, I've had counselors, I've talked to people, I know relationship people and it doesn't help. Well,
Right.
I haven't to
The
see
way you've gone at it hasn't helped, or the way you've interact with it hasn't helped.
You gotta commit to the work. Nothing we're saying is easy.
So the problem with me is where Corey was saying the intersectional part of it is, and
Yeah.
now if I were to apologize, who gives a fuck, because the damage is done.
That doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
Right.
moving forward, it's one step at a time. And
Right.
I don't like one step at a time because we're moving together. So I need to know where we're going. I'm not going to
be in sync.
Yeah. But does that ever happen? Relationships are never 50-50. And so, to your point, Cecil, is that the crash and burn shit is very hurtful to myself. And so what I do now is I say, what other ways do I self-sabotage myself?
Right.
And what Corey was saying was very encouraging. Like, nah, nigga, you don't have to accept that as your social norm, your personal norm.
Right.
Just because you always do it, just because that's how I roll, does not mean, Cecil's point, that God is going to always put good women in my life that I'm going to just fuck off because you're going to tell me what the fuck I want to know. And that's that.
Right.
So then that's where I start running. That's where I start fasting. That's where I start, the life hacks. But that's me. The best thing is to exercise it in relationships, because even though I'm in a relationship with myself, I can deal with my fucking bullshit. I can deal with the fucking harsh realities that I put on, unrealistic relations expectations I put on myself. So then that's where now I'm just cat daddying around, because in the relationships I'm in now, I'm practicing. They're not relationships that I really see a future in. I'm just saying, okay, if they say this, is it going to trigger me? If they, aren't totally giving me full disclosure, what does it matter? The life hack though is, I don't give a shit about this relationship. So of course I can play cool until it's the real dance.
But I think you have to take these practices to heart, Mike. Like what Corey is saying, if you're going to change or you're going to evolve.
Wait, hold on. You saying that's where you landed? After everything we just fucking said, that's where you landed? I thought you was telling me where you was before and the mindset you was growing, and then you was going to continue with the mindset you growing into. That's your strategy? Is that you just going to say fuck it in practice?
No. I'm saying that in these relationships, I'm practicing. Hey, man.
Go ahead. You got it.
Go ahead.
Bring it home.
The relationships are a practice, meaning that regardless of the relationship, these
Got you.
relationships,
You're
they don't.
learning, you're growing, you're taking them for the best. Okay, okay. I thought you were saying like you just at the batting cage, just like what the fuck ever. All right,
No,
we good. I'm on board again.
I put myself in these situations where I'm talking about my damage, my
Got you.
past, my
Got you.
habits, my triggers, and because these relationships are for play, I'm in these scenarios to find out what the fuck, because you don't only know what you're gonna do. I told Cecil earlier, only thing that person has control of is how we react, right? How I
Right.
respond.
Right.
So even if these relationships don't have a lot of merit, which they don't, because I'm just practicing, I
Right.
still need to watch how I respond to whatever the woman says to me, whatever information she gives me or doesn't give me, right? Because
There's
that's
gonna
my
be
fear.
those moments when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and your radar goes off.
and
Right.
and it happens so often now that I realize that I'm not fucking ready for a relationship. Because even though I don't take the relationship seriously, what did you say? You said
Excuse
you
me?
you dated 3 niggas from Montbello. Who does that shit?
2 of them was brothers.
Oh shit.
You really are stupid. My bad. I shouldn't have said that. Dial tone. Are you there? Are you there? Well, that was a hit and miss. That was a swing and miss, Corey.
He's in the batting cage at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I realized that, and I sent another video to you guys where Mike Tyson and Little Boosie, and I'm not getting off the subject, where he asked him, he says, well, who the fuck am I to say this about somebody's life? And
Right.
it really, it stung me that a lot of times I have this moral compass that's unrealistic, that I want to tell people what's right and what's wrong, what's left, what's right, what's male, what's female, what's up and down. And that's not true. And you said it so eloquent, Corey, that however I got here is how I got here.
Right.
And the beauty of this podcast is that the 3 of us have had all kind of obstacles thrown in our way. And I put on Facebook last week, a king knows how to build a throne out of the stones that were thrown at him. Like you're right, Corey. This doesn't have to be my reality. I don't have to be a crackhead in relationships. And
Real talk though. Like
yeah,
it's funny, but real shit.
or make all these deposits from relationships and I'm not investing, right? I want to take. I want to no. And I'm not even being,
Withdrawals. You said deposits.
my bad. You got it. I don't have a checking account. The way my checking account is.
We're not talking about credit scores.
FICA.
Which is a whole nother reason why I should not be asking a whole lot of questions, because if they start asking me.
No, you're not gonna like it when the flashlight's on you.
Right. Right.
You have a credit score of 12, nigga. Like
that shit only goes down to 450.
They didn't even give you a full sheet of paper. Your shit came
In a fortune cookie.
on a sliver.
How we respond, how do we get over human beings are so resilient. And I think that's what this podcast is about, right? You can overcome anything. There is nothing that should be a situation of a parent leaving, not knowing a parent, loss of love, friends that misunderstand you. And it's not ever over until, 6 feet under the ground.
Right.
This shit you can turn this shit around if I have a pure heart and my intentions are to be one, true to myself and add value to the universe. That's what I like about the Daily Do Better, is that you don't do it in this fake rose tinted sunglass type of way. It's take the fucking steps every day when you can, and when you can't, don't beat myself up about it, right?
Yeah, like fuck it. Fuck that day. I had not even that. It's like, but you also don't gotta, you don't have to be there to put that message and that energy out there. You know what I mean? Like I think I had to tell my mom. She's like, man, she was like, you be doing a lot. I was like, man, I don't be doing half that shit. I was like, I was like, they're daily do betters because I'm not doing them. I was like, but I'm definitely trying. You know what I mean? I rotate some in, I rotate some out. Some become habits, some fall away to the wayside. But it's like the intention's there, and if you put the intention out there, it's not about, because that might be somebody else's kickoff point. That one moment for me where I was motivated to change that one thing might be somebody else's moment that changes their life forever. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it takes 10 moments away from me for anybody to feel any effect. But it's like, that's why I had to tell Uncle, like, nah, man, you can't tell the nigga you can't change. Like, what?
Well, Corey, like you haven't just met this dude, but I mean, we fifth, sixth, seventh, we sixth grade.
Hey,
Like the 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 investments I got in this dude's friendship bank. It's like my heart breaks for him. I want him to have his happiness. I want him to succeed. I want him to get
Yeah.
out of his own way. And so that's what's so great about this triumvirate and the notepad and our podcast, is because regardless of the topic, someone's coming with fresh eyes and someone's coming
Yeah.
without an agenda. Even if you two tag team me, I'm gonna be over here. And when we tag team Mike, he's over there. And when we tag
Right.
team you eventually, you're gonna be like, bring it on.
Right.
So that synergy, that organic bond that we have, that's never gonna leave, and that's gonna feed through future podcasts. This might be a nice point to wrap it up. I'm sure we're past the 3-hour threshold.
Yeah.
And
I gotta go to bed and shit.
if and when I would like to edit this one definitely before we put it out, because this is probably 2 separate shows, even removing my my stupid Jamaican story. We're still probably
like we could edit the front part because it was so slow ramping up, right?
Yeah.
And so,
well, this doesn't have to be in the cast. Us talking about editing doesn't have to be in the cast. We'll edit or talk about editing. But I think we